Hi everyone, thank you for having me. And then thanks again for all the panelists that have taught you about, come back to country. So, especially Qatar, I think, if I'm Vietnamese living here, I'll book my flight right away. So who doesn't, right? And I hope with my story that I give you a specific destination to come back to. So my story starts with National Australia Bank. So, most of you are living here, so the NAB star is nothing of a stranger to you. So everyone would see the NAB star, in a corner of the street. But back in Vietnam, and when we first started this project, it was five and a half years ago, no one knew who NAB is. Like for us, it was very hard to attract talent, to even promote ourselves, because we didn't exist in the market. And we are no, Vietcombank, Techcombank, or other banks, and we are not even a bank. So we came in country as a technology company. So we compete with all the startups, with the FPT softwares, all the biggest in the market where they've been there for a long time. So snapshot in Australia, but I don't need to spend a lot of time on this. Basically, over 10 million customers. Overall, globally, now we are 38,000 colleagues and more than 700 locations. So it's a big bank. It's an old bank, conservative, and basically has a deep reputation of not moving fast enough compared to the competitors. But everyone knows it in Australia, but in Vietnam, it's very hard to kind of bring all that back and get people to get to know about us. So he's my boss. He came to the bank over 7 years ago, where everything was broken. That's what he said. Like even not a phone is working. And basically we have the biggest workforce. So we run half the bank. So technology and operations is now currently 18,000 people across the world. And basically, back then when he first joined the company, 70% or even more than 70% of all our tech workforce were with the vendors. So basically it's Accenture, Infosys, Tech Mahindra, all those companies are running technology for now. So that's one of the reasons why nothing works, because so many people running it, so many technologies that is not compatible, it's not like linked together or doesn't work smoothly. So we had incidents every week, every day even. And it was so broken. So this man decided that he wanted to change it. It took him a lot longer to make it work, but it's gradually changing it. And our approach is we want to put everything on the cloud. And not only one cloud, we want to go multi-cloud. And it's a really big effort, but we want to make it safer and a stronger foundation so that we are not dependent on any of the provider out there. And also the third approach is we want to build and own our technology and not buying everything. So basically we want to reduce that heavy reliance on external vendors and take control of our technology. So after 7.5 years, we are now the largest multi-cloud foundations in the Southern Hemisphere, still is, with 80% of all our technology is now on the cloud. So we've been able to reduce that, like criticality incidents every time. You can't even get to your internet banking at NAB. You can't access the app. You can't transfer money, all that crap. Basically reduced by 82%. Well, but 7 years has been a long time, right? But so far, Vietnam started 2019. India started about less than 3 years ago. And now, from 70% plus of our workforce, tech workforce with the vendor, now we reduce that to less than 40%. So our view is we'll continue to drop that until where we just keep the minimum, like let's say less than 20%. with the vendors, and we run our own technology. So, NAB Vietnam. We knew that we have to go global, not because we don't like Australia or don't love Australia. NAB is an Australian bank, so we've always been here. But basically, Australia only produces about, I think, 7,000 IT students every year, which really everyone is competing with the same IT workforce. And for us to kind of produce that strategy that is very, very innovative and ambitious, that, for more than 170 years of our history, we never did that. So we knew that we have to go overseas because it's just not having, we don't have enough IT people in Australia. And why competing with everyone, we can't grow fast enough. So that's why we started with Vietnam first, was 5.5 years ago. And I think we look around. We consider Vietnam, Thailand, Korea, Malaysia, Philippines, and realize that even though Vietnam seems to be a very young market, the industry, the ICT industry has been growing up very fast. So almost 30% every year for the last 10 years. So if you have the chance to come back to country, or if you're not Vietnamese, go to Vietnam to visit, you realize that it's a lot more digital savvy than most of the surrounding countries. So many young folks grew up with the app. They don't even know what internet banking is on the desktop. So they move directly to digital banks in some areas. So that's what, and then, Vietnam produced the best coders in the region. So that's why we choose Vietnam to start. And it's paid out for us. So 5.5 years ago, I still remember I recruited 10 first engineers in Vietnam. It was right before COVID, 10. So 2019, 10 people. Now we are about 1,800 people, so 1,800 last month. And we continue to grow. And considering that we are not only just an IT shop, we try to bring the whole business with us as well. So we also, do a little bit of digital marketing for the group, operations here and there to really support our IT graduates or IT people to really understand about banking. And that was one of the most difficult things to do. The market gives you that many coders that is brilliant. The tech work is great. But, our population is, I think, 80% are less than 30 years old. And basically, they've never been overseas, they've never been to Australia, let alone knowing or understanding all the domain knowledge around banking. How to write a loan or how to write a smart contract. It was very hard. So I think my vision is, the company vision is, how do we connect that? How do we connect the talent from Vietnam to NAB, to Australia? And also, because we want to support the ambitions of the group has of being the most customer-centric company, not a bank, company in Australia and New Zealand, we have to be more, more innovative. We're not purely in the banking industry anymore. We're mostly in the tech industry, if I can say so. And we also, me personally, I would think so. I want to bring, Vietnam to the IT market. I want to bring Vietnam to the map, where for a very long time, for the last 20 years, it's all about India, Philippines, Malaysia in some extent. But no one have thought about Vietnam, to be honest. And we've been enjoying the first mover advantage, and we've been able to grow very fast. So less than 6 years, we are now across Hanoi, Ho Chi Minh City. And by the end of this year, we will be a little bit more than 2,000 people that we are very proud of. And I think we talk about that a lot. We talk about relationship between Vietnam and Australia, but there's not a lot happening, to be honest, in terms of investment, in terms of real collaborations to make something significant. So we've been having a lot of support from the Australian embassy, Vietnamese embassy, to kind of help us to enable a bigger footprint, because I think in the next year we will be considered one of the largest private foreign investor in Vietnam from Australia. So I hope that the competitors are not coming too quickly. Even if ANZ has started another center of like 100 people, and CBA might come very soon, but I think if we come in and we lead with purpose, we give people a place where they can develop their career. That's where we can sustain and develop our people further. Yeah, I want to change that slide to the growth plan, but basically people said that you shouldn't say that. Anyway. So 2,000 people are very bright mind, young and curious. A lot of our teams came back from Australia. So from that role, there's half of my team there. And half of them are from Australia. Vietnamese or not Vietnamese, they live here for 20, 30 years and then decide to come back. So if you ever think about coming back to Vietnam, you are in the tech industries or you're interested in the banking industry, I think you know where to go. Let me show you a little bit of a landscape of the Vietnam digital market. So it's divided in two buckets. One is the outsourcing companies where they provide services or delivery products, but for other customers. So it can be very large, like FPT is the biggest in the company with more than 25,000 people. It's like a Vietnamese Infosys. But then obviously they are in the outsourcing category. So if you go with those companies, sometimes you're not the biggest customer. So it's going to be very hard to have a leverage there. The second bucket is what we call products company, where they have their own brand, they have their own technology, they develop their own products. But usually those group doesn't scale. They are maybe local bank, local, like software company, games, or, e-commerce companies. But they will stick in the less than 1,000 scale bucket because they develop and own their own product, but locally. So basically, they don't go global like we do. So one of the also very special about us is there's no difference between NAB Vietnam, NAB Innovation Center Vietnam, NAB Innovation Center India, or NAB Australia. So basically, we just operate as one team. So 18,000 people, 2,000 in Vietnam, 3,000 in India, and it just feels like you're working in another location, in another office. There's no different if you compare to Sydney or Melbourne. So this is the same thing. So this is the current split. It can be a snapshot. It might change very quickly, but you can clearly see that most of people in the IT industry in Vietnam are mainly software developer. So there's a skill gap there in terms of being a product owners or being in consulting, designing, testing areas. So it's a good kind of way to see how and which area is going to be highly demanded. So you want to invest or study in those areas. I think it's a good way to start because we are actively recruiting too. So a bit of advertising, but I'll go quickly. Maybe it's not for this. So why joining us? Also advertising, but basically I think there's no more powerful message than giving people purpose. So purpose for me is helping people, is develop local talent. I'm a local talent as an example, for example. So we try to create that career development where people are enjoying working for us, but they are growing with us. And that's the most important thing. We also built one of the best office in Ho Chi Minh City. That every one of our NAB colleagues who already come to visit said that it's the best office. across the world for NAB, not only in Asia or Australia. And also we focus on sustainability as well, because our population is demanding for it. So if you employ a lot of, or if you are people from Gen Z, Gen Z, it's not just enough to have a good work and have a pay. You have to be something more than that. So we try to provide that for our people, so that they can feel like NAB is not only about banking, but we also care about our social impact, and we try to do the best we can for the community. Okay, that's the end of my story. Thank you for listening.